So one thing, I'm a hardcore idealist. One element of our podcast is that I always make a recommendation for books. A lot of people don't have time to read books, but I still think they're valuable for our education. Is there a particular book that you would recommend if people say, I want to get a little bit more details? I think there's even one book that you helped write, right?
Well, if you are interested how you define visions, missions, and bring it down in terms of portfolio management and then reeling into details, I can recommend the book. It's called Strategisches Projektmanagement.
Is it only in German or also in English?
I'm afraid it's only in German.
Then that's for the German-speaking people. That's fine.
Yeah. And you're right, the chapter who is dealing with how to define strategies and breaking it down into a portfolio has been written by me.
Yeah, so we're not going to call him Dr. Strange. We're going to call him Dr. Strategist. He's our expert on that. So I have also picked out some books that I would recommend. I don't know if recommend is the right word. These are books that I would recommend that are out there. There's a lot of books out there. Wiley Verlag or the Wiley Guide is a good place to start. Project Program Portfolio Management. This is a good kind of starter kit. It's fairly easy to read. It of course has graphics and some bullet points. It's easy to digest. It's not going to rock your world, but it's a good start. I like this book right here because it goes into what we didn't have that much time to get into, which was the KPI kind of element.
Well, we still should.
And maybe we'll have an opportunity to do a follow-up on this. This right here is a book called the Project Management Scorecard by Jack Phillips, Timothy Bothell, and Lynn Sneed. Measuring the Success of Project Management Solutions. I think this is a great, simple book. Sometimes gets a little bit complex, but otherwise it's fairly straightforward. The one book that I mentioned to you that kind of drives this home, you can take a look at this afterwards, is The Business Model Generation. This is a different variation of the Balanced Scorecard. It asks a lot of those questions, right? So it's based on a very simple graphic where it says, who are your key partners? What are your key activities? What are your key resources? What is your value proposition? What are your customer relations? What are your channels? What are your customer segments? What is your cost structure? And what are your revenue systems? Sounds a lot like Balanced Scorecard, doesn't it? Right?
Absolutely.
So it's a different take. And once again, you can reinvent the wheel and there's no harm in it. But we would recommend you, if you're going to have to do this, don't reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of good examples out there. You can't talk about project management without talking about Harold Kurtzner. I've had one of his longtime pupils, Al Zaytoun, on the podcast. I'm hoping that I can still get Professor Kurtzner to come on my podcast. Maybe he has to get to know me first. Strategic planning for project management using the project management maturity model. There's many different maturity models. We're going to be going through this also in the academy. We'll be taking a look at this. This one I want to say because it's my favorite one. There's another one here called Portfolio Management for New Products. I like this book here because what this does, it kind of creates the link. I think you cannot, project portfolio management does not make any sense unless you create an integrated link to financial and product portfolio, which kind of makes the responsibility. And then I'm going to say really one of my favorite books. I've also talked to this gentleman, a great guy, a French gentleman by the name of Philippe Pousser. Great guy, very, very humble, very, very, very knowledgeable. I've also invited him on a podcast. He declined, not because he didn't like the podcast, but he says he didn't want to expose himself with his opinion. Maybe if you see some of these podcasts, you'll see that we're ready to speak openly. Great guy.